Hello and welcome to Politically Correct. In this episode, I'm going to talk about what I read on the weekend. You must wonder why I should be talking about what I read. Because it was Smriti Irani's Lal Salaam, her debut novel. And you may say, so what? Basically, why I decided to talk about it is because I thought, we should get a minister's worldview from the corridors of power. She may be writing a fiction. The fiction, howsoever imaginary, also reflects the author's innermost feelings and her experiences that shape her worldview. So, what do we get in this book? Basically, Irani's fictional work only supplements what the BJP has been saying all along, that Maoists have no ideology, no social cause. They are plain hardened criminals, extortionists, killers. So, in the book, you find many uncanny similarities between real life characters. For instance, you have this character called Rudra. He's a PhD student from Delhi University. He's working with Maoists. Then you have you have his guide, Prakash Padmanabh. He's a Delhi University professor. Now, Padmanabh, he hails from an impoverished family from Andhra Pradesh and he was born in 1967. Now, we're talking about uncanny similarities. So, if you recall, there was this Professor Sai Baba who was convicted for his links with Maoists. Now, Sai Baba also, he was born in 1967. He also hailed from Andhra Pradesh. And Sai Baba was wheelchair bound since his childhood. So, the character in Smriti Irani's book, Padmanabh, he is also wheelchair bound. So, talking about the similarities, then in the book you have NGOs basically indulging in money laundering for the Maoists. Then the novel talks about the nexus between Maoists, politicians, contractors, police officials. So at the end of it, not to drag it, basically the protagonist of the novel, that is a young IPS officer, Vikram Pratap Singh, he exposes them all and this entire financial trail and who is helping whom and who is killing whom. So that's all about the novel. And it's, when you start reading it, you start sifting fiction from facts, not the other way around. Basically, there are so many similarities I am talking about. So, basically, Irani is saying in her fiction what the BJP has been saying publicly about the Maoists. But that's not why I have chosen to tell you about that book. What I'm trying to drive at here is the fact that there are very few countries in the world where you have so many serving ministers writing books. Opposition parties may be writing, but for ministers, for them to get enough time to write books, that doesn't always happen. You usually see opposition leaders having so much of time that they're not in power, they have all the time at their disposal, they keep writing. So in this government, for instance, in the Modi cabinet, I would say, Smriti Irani, she may be the first woman to have written a fiction. But there are many others. Before her, you have Minorities Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. Last year, he wrote this novel, Balwa. It was about this love affair between two persons from different communities. Then, after this LAC standoff between India and China, after the Chinese transgressed our border, when there is full-fledged crisis, our External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar, he was writing a book, The India Way, Strategies for an Uncertain World. Of course, then Smriti Irani's novel has come. Then you have our Environment and Labour Minister Bhupendra Yadav. He has also written a book, The Rise of the BJP, The Making of the World's Largest Party. The book is likely to be launched soon. So how do they get the time to write? Well, you may be asking this question, but it's not that it's happening only in this government. The UPA government also, if I recall it right, in 2008, Kapil Sibal wrote an anthology of poems. I think the title was Eyewitness. And we used to call him the first mobile poet of India because he would be, while traveling, he would be writing on his mobile. Smriti Irani also uses her cell phone as a writing instrument. And as she says, she completed the book in 8 months. But it's not about the ministers getting time and not getting time. Even those who are not writing books are not doing any better. That's the point I'm driving at. So I'm giving you some instances. So the Indian Express, for instance, reported in October that the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, flagged several anomalies and questions many provisions in the draft e-commerce rules that the Department of Consumer Affairs had issued. So two departments or two ministries in the government having differing views, I mean, that's nothing, I mean, there is nothing unusual about it. But where you start talking about it is the fact that both of these departments came under Piyush Goyal. Piyush Goyal is the Minister for Commerce and Industry and he is the Minister for Consumer Affairs. So one ministry drafts certain rules, e-commerce rules, and another ministry objects to it and flags many concerns about it. So that's a bit strange. Then let's talk about another minister, say Union Power Minister DK Singh. You recall last year there was this big fuel shortage everybody was talking about because of supply side constraint of coal. And then in one of the interviews in the Indian Express, DK Singh said that he was bracing for a trying next 5-6 months, as bridging the fuel gap could be a touch and go affair. So a total crisis-like situation, and everybody was panicking in the government. But what DK Singh was saying was a bit ironic, because you expect our policymakers to foresee the surge in demand post-pandemic as the economy opens up, and then you would expect our policymakers to focus on supply-side management rather than lamenting about the fuel shortage post facto. I'm giving another instance. I mean, very recently, Supreme Court had questioned the government that how come you have fixed this income criteria, like income ceiling of 8 lakh rupees for economically weaker sections for admission to postgraduate courses in medical courses, and the same income tax ceiling for OBCs also. So how have you arrived at this figure? And in fact, law officers who were representing the government, they were fumbling for words, because neither the Social Justice Ministry nor the DOPT had any answer. Now they are saying they are reviewing it. So I'm citing these instances to show why ministers, come newly minted authors, are as good or as bad as those who don't write books. You can blame centralized system of command and control in the government, where the PMO runs the ministries directly, virtually rendering ministers irrelevant. But the silver lining is ministers are making the best of it and giving flight to the imagination. PM Modi's critics can't now blame him for stifling creativity at least. So I'm not cribbing about the ministers writing while they're in office and while they have so many other ministerial responsibilities. As I said, that even those who are not writing are not doing any great thing as such. I leave it to you to judge whether what they're doing or whether they should be spending more time to their ministries or to giving flight to the imagination. That's all from me in this episode of Politically Correct. Thanks for watching.